No vibe or different vibe? Hugo Broos, the African Cup of Nations and the fans' verdict. The African Cup of Nations is known for one thing above all else: atmosphere. Drums, flags, packed stadiums, and a sense that football has taken over daily life. So when South Africa coach Hugo Broos publicly said the current African Cup of Nations lacks vibe, it was bound to spark debate. And it did. Broos didn't hold back. Speaking during the group stage, the Bafana coach said this African Cup of Nations feels cool compared to previous editions. According to him, there's less buzz around stadiums, fewer fans at training grounds, and surprisingly empty seats even in matches said to be sold out. For a man who has coached across Africa and won the African Cup of Nations with Cameroon in 2017, his words carried weight. From Broos's perspective, the issue isn't just inside the stadiums, it's outside them too. He described a lack of flags, street energy, and that unmistakable tournament feel that usually surrounds the African Cup of Nations. To him, it doesn't feel like the African Cup of Nations he knows. But as soon as those comments went public, fans pushed back. On social media and football forums, many supporters argued that Broos's experience is not the full picture. Several fans pointed out that while South Africa's matches may have had modest attendance, other games, especially involving North African giants, have drawn strong, passionate crowds. In their view, the vibe hasn't disappeared, it has simply been uneven. Some supporters also turned the spotlight back on South Africa itself. They questioned whether Broos was confusing a lack of travelling Bafana fans with a lack of tournament atmosphere. African Cup of Nations crowds, they argued, are often driven by geography, diaspora presence, and local fan bases. Not every team gets the same support everywhere. There's also context that complicates the discussion. This African Cup of Nations has faced logistical challenges, weather disruptions, and scheduling issues. Fans noted that heavy rain, ticketing confusion, and security controls can dampen the matchday experience, even when interest is high. Others suggested that modern African Cup of Nations tournaments feel different simply because football consumption has changed. More fans watching online, fewer able to attend in person due to costs and travel. Still, some supporters agreed with Broos, at least partially. They acknowledged that compared to iconic tournaments like Ivory Coast or Egypt-hosted African Cup of Nations editions, the energy outside stadiums feels quieter. For them, the African Cup of Nations is as much about street football culture as it is about the 90 minutes on the pitch, and that magic has been harder to find this time around. What makes this debate fascinating is that both sides may be right. Broos is speaking from lived experience, a coach who has seen the African Cup of Nations at its wildest and most intense. Fans, meanwhile, are experiencing the tournament through different lenses, different stadiums, different matches, different expectations. The African Cup of Nations is not a single, uniform experience. It shifts from city to city and team to team. In the end, the controversy highlights a deeper truth. The African Cup of Nations identity is evolving. The tournament still delivers drama, quality football, and unforgettable moments. But the atmosphere fans remember from the past may not always appear in the same way, or in the same places. Whether this African Cup of Nations truly lacks vibe, or simply has a different kind of vibe, depends on where you're standing, who you're supporting, and what the African Cup of Nations means to you. One thing is certain: when the African Cup of Nations sparks debates like this, it proves the tournament still matters, deeply.